Help me reach 1,000 subscribes. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read every comment. Thanks. I didn't walk into marriage expecting passion every night or grand gestures every weekend. I expected effort, presence, a sense that we were choosing each other, even on the boring days. Elizabeth and I had been married for 11 years, and for most of that time, I believed we were solid. Not perfect, but stable. I was James, 39, project manager, routine-driven, predictable. She used to say that was what she loved about me, that I made life feel safe. In the early years, we laughed easily. Long talks after dinner. Shared jokes no one else understood. Lazy Sundays that blurred into evenings. Somewhere along the way, those moments started thinning out. I didn't notice it all at once. It was subtle. Conversations shortened. Eye contact faded. She spent more time on her phone than in the room with me. When I asked how her day was, her answers became efficient instead of personal. At first, I told myself this was normal. Life gets busy. Work pressures grow. You don't panic every time the spark dims. So I leaned in instead of pulling away. I made dinner more often. Planned weekend getaways she used to love. Ask questions instead of making assumptions. I thought consistency would remind her of what we had. It didn't. The distance didn't announce itself loudly. It settled in quietly. She stopped reaching for me in bed. The kisses became brief, functional. When I tried to talk about it, she reassured me without really engaging. I'm just tired lately. It's not about you. Statements designed to end conversations, not deepen them. If this story already feels uncomfortably familiar, take a moment to hit the like button so it can reach others who might need to hear it too. Months passed like that. I started feeling like I was occupying space instead of sharing it. The house felt quieter even when we were both home. I began noticing how often she stayed late at work, how guarded she became with her phone, how quickly she closed apps when I walked into the room. I didn't accuse her. I didn't snoop. I didn't want to become someone suspicious. I trusted my wife. Or at least, I trusted the version of her I remembered. One night, while we were sitting on opposite ends of the couch, I asked her if she still felt happy with me. She paused longer than necessary before answering. I don't know, she said. That pause did more damage than any argument could have. Uncertainty has a way of hollowing you out slowly. After that, I stopped initiating conversations about us. Not because I stopped caring, but because every attempt felt like begging for reassurance that should have been freely given. I focused on work, on routines, on being useful. I convinced myself that stability was enough, that love didn't always need words. Then came the change I couldn't ignore. She started staying out later than usual, not dramatically late, just enough to raise questions. When I asked where she'd been, she answered calmly but vaguely. Out. With friends. No names. No details. Her voice wasn't offensive. It was detached. Like explanations were optional now. At this point, I want to ask you something. Do you think emotional distance hurts more than outright betrayal? Share your thoughts in the comments. I started wondering if she had replaced me without telling me. Not physically, maybe emotionally. Like someone else was now receiving the parts of her I no longer had access to. The laughter, the curiosity, the warmth. It's a strange kind of jealousy when you don't even know who you're competing with. One evening, I came home early unexpectedly. Her car wasn't there. The house felt colder than usual. I sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at a life that looked intact from the outside but felt abandoned from within. That was the first time the thought crossed my mind. Maybe I was already alone and just hadn't accepted it yet. When she finally came home, she acted normal, asked about my day, mentioned something trivial about dinner. I watched her closely, searching for guilt, excitement, anything. There was nothing, just neutrality. And somehow that hurt the most. If you've ever felt invisible in your own relationship, comment the word "seen" below. That night, I didn't sleep much. Not because I was angry, but because I was alert, like my mind was bracing for something it hadn't fully named yet. I kept replaying the same question. If she had already moved on in her heart, What exactly was I still holding on to? I didn't know then that the answer was about to knock on my door. The knock came just past midnight. I froze for a moment. Staring at the door I thought I knew so well. My mind ran through every possibility. Who could it be at this hour? My heart thumped in a rhythm that matched the growing dread I couldn't shake. When I finally opened it, there she was, Elizabeth, standing there in a simple coat, her hair damp from the evening mist. Not angry, not apologetic, just present, and for the first time in months, fully alive in my vision. James, she started, voice trembling slightly. Can we talk? I stepped aside, letting her in without a word. The silence that followed felt charged, heavy with months of things unsaid. We didn't sit immediately. We stood, each of us caught in that fragile pause between past familiarity and the unknown future. Take a moment to like this story if you've ever had a confrontation you didn't see coming. Help others understand that these moments happen to real people. She spoke first, hesitantly. I know things have felt distant. I know it seemed like I was shutting you out. Her eyes didn't avoid mine. They were raw, searching. I wasn't replacing you. Not in the way you feared. I was just... She trailed off, biting her lip, as if choosing the right words could prevent a mistake. I listened quietly. For once, I didn't interrupt. I didn't judge. I let her find her own rhythm. There was a tremor in her voice that mirrored the shaking I had tried to ignore in myself. Elizabeth, I finally said, keeping my tone steady. I thought you had moved on, that someone else had taken my place in your life. She flinched at the honesty, and that flinch told me more than words ever could. I know, she whispered. I made it seem that way, but I was scared. Scared that you'd leave, scared that I'd hurt you, scared that I couldn't explain how lost I felt inside. The truth hung between us, heavy and fragile. Months of distance, silence, and misunderstanding condensed into one moment that demanded confrontation. Now, comment below what word captures your reaction to a long period of misunderstanding like this. Let's see how many can relate to James' feeling. We sat down finally, the couch familiar yet alien under the weight of unspoken tension. She described nights when she felt trapped in her own thoughts, days when she questioned herself, and moments when she didn't know how to bridge the widening gap between us. I listened, letting the story unfold like a confessional. And in listening, I understood something vital. It wasn't betrayal I feared. It was being unseen. And here she was, showing up, proving that she hadn't forgotten me entirely. The hours slipped past unnoticed. The conversation was neither dramatic nor sensational. It was careful, deliberate, and raw. By the time dawn threatened the horizon, we were exhausted, but awake in a way we hadn't been for months. The silence afterward felt different, comfortable, honest, and open. If this moment resonates with you, professionally share the story with someone who might need to hear that reconciliation sometimes comes in unexpected ways. As she prepared to leave, she paused at the door. I don't want us to go back to ignoring each other. I want honesty, James, even when it's uncomfortable. Her gaze was steady, almost pleading. I nodded. Then let's start with honesty. Comment your thoughts below. What would you do if someone returned to your life after months of emotional absence? Let's start a discussion. Before leaving, Elizabeth reached out briefly, a small gesture that meant everything after months of distance. Thank you for listening, for waiting, for not giving up. I realized then that waiting wasn't weakness. It was the patience to survive the storm, to be ready for clarity when it arrived. That night, I felt the first real breath of hope in a long time. And finally, if you've been through a similar experience, hit like, comment your reaction, and consider subscribing. This story reminds us all that sometimes love is not lost. It just needs to find its way back. As the door clicked behind her, I sank into the couch, not with despair, but with a weight lifted I hadn't felt in months. The house was quiet again, but it felt different now. Not empty, not cold, alive with possibility. The night had delivered its shock, suspense, and thrill, but it also offered a lesson. Love isn't always about grand gestures or fireworks. Sometimes it's about patience, listening, and the courage to show up when it matters most.